So, given everything that I've mentioned already now in the other videos and sort of, you know, the systems that I have for support, such as friends, which is non existent really. I do have some. I just don't know where they are when I need them. Some say that they help, but I'm too much. I overwhelm everybody. I overwhelm myself and don't have any family to help. And for their own reasons. I mean, it's also very traumatizing for them to go through as well. So it's like, so here we have, what has the system done? What did the system do for me when it wasn't even my fault, when I had no control over anything as a child? What did the system do for me when they knew I was on my own at 14, making that decision with me and everybody else and changing my guardianship to no one? What did the system do for me as an adult? And what does the system do for me right now? And I can tell you nothing. Other than, I think if any effort at all, it has gone into trying to either criminalize people, such as myself or my mom, or, trying to make the situation worse. Very rarely has anyone that I've met in the system been able to really make things better. Their hands are always tied, or they're not, they don't have investments that go into certain areas to help people. So, like, as a kid, I did expect, teachers to pay attention to the abuse that was happening to me. Like, I expected a little bit more, like growing up, thinking about how much of a difference it could have made if one of my teachers just kind of got a little bit more involved. Or perhaps if there was a better investigation towards the domestic violence, perhaps, like that was all getting reported. And if it wasn't just out to criminalize people, and if it was actually there to, provide support to people that couldn't afford support, then great. I think it could have maybe made a bigger difference. But instead, when people in my family, including myself, needed help when I was a baby, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, all they did was try to criminalize my mom and everybody and take me away from her. And obviously I was not even going to let that happen. Even as a kid, I didn't want to leave my mom. So I didn't know what was better. I thought what was happening to me was normal. So there was never really any supportive approach that I remember, even as a kid. When, when I got older and everything happened in high school, I, things were really bad with me at home and my mom. I was actually old enough to fight back the alcoholic abuse. So I was like not having it anymore. If I talked back to her, she'd like throw me out. And I just sometimes I would just like leave, and like I would sneak back in somehow through my basement window and go to sleep, and she'd wake up and she wouldn't have any memory of what happened. And eventually that got into a lot of problems. I got in trouble with school from truancy because like I was like not able to sleep very well. Just like, back in grade 1 or whatever, and I was missing my bus to RMC and I missed school, and I, they got me in trouble for truancy and amongst other things. And then the courts got involved, and, it was very complicated. I did not feel like I was being taken care of at the time. I felt like a criminal. No one really listened to me. No one really cared that that there was a long history of like domestic abuse since a child in my family, or like that there's records of all of that. Nobody took the time to really investigate that and see what they can do to actually support this family, as opposed to trying to keep breaking it up. So at the end of all of that court, I ended up the guardianship of no one. My court judge decided that I was capable of taking care of myself on my own, and I was going to go move in with my girlfriend, and I didn't have to have to be under anyone's care, really. So after that, they basically just washed their hands of me. They knew how vulnerable I could be. They knew all of the problems in society, and yet nobody ever followed up or checked on me, been like, hey, I had, even when I reached out for help, it was always really cut off as much as possible. And you got the bare minimum. And even when I went on welfare at 17, like it wasn't enough. And I ended up back in the same vulnerable situation with my landlord really soon. And it was horrible. And I'll never be betrayed more by anything else in my life than like the actual system. Because when you look at the policies that are supposed to be written and to like protect everybody from all of these things, it's not. It only protects some people. And that kind of betrayal, and to see, to actually see like some people protected and some people not, it really causes a lot of deprivation. And so like a lot of other things happen, but those are really the biggest problems for me. And I think when they should have been the most accountable, because I was under 18 during this whole time, and they really should have done better to fucking make sure that I had a little bit more support, if any. And to get to where I am today, which is so irate with the system that I'm suing it, it is a whole full-time 36 years of neglect. And I have it on proof, or I can speak it on the stand and swear on it. And I'm swearing on it now. I am so upset. I'm beyond upset. Now that I want to do these things, or in the last 5 years, I've been trying to reach out to the system for help in relationship to my student loan, relationship to my income, cost of living, medicine, all these things that they're completely responsible for. Again, here I am now, like really asking them and for help and support in these things that are very detrimental to not only me but to a lot of Canadians. And I feel ignored. I feel discredited. I feel like my voice doesn't matter to the system. I feel like all of these cabinet ministers just think that they know their job better than people who are living the decisions that they're making. And I don't think they care about people like me, or listen, or want to pick up the phone and have a conversation with us. Even the people that are willing to provide their testimony as to why something isn't working, they don't care. They don't want to listen. Or how they can do better. They don't care about how they can do better. They think they're doing good enough, and they think that they're already better than the people calling to complain. And that's a problem. And I have been trying to break through to get some kind of support for all of these things that I've been doing in the last 5 years. I've called cabinet ministers. I've called my MPP, my MP. I've called the opposition. I've left messages. I've called the premier. I've called the prime minister, the attorney general. So there's pretty much the whole cabinet, really. And I've even called people in other provinces. And so now I'm at the point of sending all of this work to like people in other countries, okay, so that I can try and show them how hard this is. And maybe they won't want me. Maybe they'll be like, oh. But I'm hoping to send them to places that I don't have to complain about these things to. But everywhere has problems, so they might even just be like, "Who the fuck wants this piece of mess?" But I think I value places that value criticism. I want to live in a place that is truly dedicated to listening to the people. Canada is still under active colonization. There's no way that the government listens to anybody here but themselves. It's been that way forever. The problems that I've had now, also beyond the cabinet, is I've also tried to reach out to various communities over the last 2 or 3 years that are connected to me. I've done volunteer. I've done things for these communities. So, I've reached out to the gay community. I've reached out to the autism community. I've reached out to the Métis community, and all of these places that I thought might want to understand, kind of from my point of view, how I feel as this person in this country. A member, as somebody with autism in this country, as a mixed race Aboriginal person in this country, as a as a gay member with it's interesting because nobody cared. I think the number one consensus from the people that are in these positions tell me that it's too much, or I feel like I'm just too much work for everybody and they can't handle it. Which is like, then how am I handling it? How am I handling this alone then? Because, and I've gone to hospitals, I've gone to healthcare clinics, I've gone to see the Canadian Mental Health Association, I've gone to the police services for help, I've gone to everybody that I can possibly think of on my checklist of services for the community in situations of crisis. And it's sad. I've called the crisis line, and I get some volunteer that's getting their university degree in mental health, and they don't even know what to do with me. Like, I'm way too much for them too. They're like, whoa. So that's a feeling in itself. Everywhere you go, people telling you that you're too much, in a way that they can't help you because it's just too much. There's just too many things wrong, or there's too many problems, or it's just too big, and or I'm taking on too much at the same time, and they can't handle it. And I'm just like, I can't handle it either, but I don't have a choice. This is my life. And when I go to places for help, and I would expect that, since they are public services and I'm paying taxes for them, that they would do their best, or that there would actually be solutions on the other end. And I've had people do their best sometimes, but then not have any solutions because their hands are tied, or the system is over capacity, or, usually those two reasons. Mostly over capacity. And I'm also a single male, so end of the list. So we have all of these barriers in the system. I've even gone to schools. I wrote a letter to the University of Western, a school that I went to, and I asked them to send out a letter offering employment. I will pay somebody to help me. I looked into trying to hire a private investigator to help me with these things, because I am having such a hard time filling out all of these forms and reliving the trauma of everything that's been happening to me. I've been gathering evidence and putting it dated on my Google Drive, but I need people to help me with the application form, the paint by number shit, really. And I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with that, but every time I fill out a form, I have I have like an extremely big meltdown, and it's just too much to go through all of it so many times alone. And I'm here by myself in my apartment, and and I don't have anybody really with me along the way, even to just like coach me or like to keep me strong. Like, I don't have family, I don't have friends here. I'm all by myself. And like I said, I don't have a social worker. I've asked everybody possible for a social worker. I've asked Autism Ontario because I'm over 18. I don't qualify for that. I've asked the government for help. I've asked lawyers. I'm like calling lawyers up and down the province in every city possible. And even people that I get off the referral system, because I was just like, okay, so no one has time for me. I start going through the referral system, and then I started calling the referral system and being like, yo, like, these people are still telling me they don't have time for me. Can you find someone that has a lot of fucking time? Like, and that's comfortable with autism and like all these things? Because these people are discriminating against me. They're looking at my case. They're not telling me that it's a bad case. They're not saying stop pursuing it. I'm going through consultation after consultation, a total fucking waste of my time. And I'm not getting anywhere. No one is taking my cases because it's too much for them. So if lawyers are telling me that I have a case, but then they don't have time for it, they're telling me to go get another lawyer. And every other lawyer that I talk to tells me to go get another fucking lawyer. And I'm really fucking getting tired of this fucking bullshit. I'm basically doing all the work myself, by myself, and I'm tired. And I think the system pushes people off the edge for this exact reason. And I should have been pushed off the edge a long time ago. A long time ago. It is a fucking miracle. And I say that over and over and over and over and over again. I have no idea how I'm still alive. I don't. And it's still, people ask me, they're like, oh, should I call the police? Should I, get an ambulance for you? And I'm like, what are they going to do? Are they going to make me feel like I'm equal in this country? You think a police officer coming to my house to talk about my suicide is going to make me feel like the system cares? What about all of the injustices that led up to this? Who's going to fix all of those? What about all the neglect from the time I was born to now? Like, and all the bullshit I had to deal with, and the discrimination, and the people, and and all of the reasons why I'm fucking suing these systems that's made me into this person that I am today. And all of the neglect that my mom experienced, and all the help that she could have had, and all of the help my grandmother could have had. But we were all very much like victims of a lot of trauma, and we all handled it very differently, as I say in my message about everything in my family. And we all handled the trauma differently, and the system treated us the same no matter what. Okay. And I think my grandma got the best out of it because she kept it quiet. She pretended like her trauma does not exist, and she did a really good job at acting. And, but it comes out in other ways at home. It never gets dealt with. And then you push people you love away. So, she may have somewhat of a good perspective of the system because she's been able to manipulate her own perception and be someone that she's not really well. And, she's able to come across as though nothing bad has ever happened to her. My mom's not like that. Neither am I. I can't hide my trauma. It comes out. So, and I'm criminalized for it by the system. When I scream, they think that I'm not worth talking to. No matter who I'm talking to at the system, I have so many triggers talking to them over my entire life of them sounding the same way or cutting me off or like repeating the same policy statement without actually listening or applying it to the actual situation. They just kind of robotically, and I trigger, and I sometimes I get very, very upset, and I have every reason to be upset. And they love to discredit people like me as soon as we get upset, because that means they don't have to listen to us anymore and they can hang up. And I think that's unacceptable. I think that people should take accountability for why they made me angry, instead of trying to put me into a box or a category that they can discredit. Or when I swear, all of these things are tools to avoid accountability. It's manipulation at best, making me feel like I deserved that treatment because I'm so unruly. Well, no, I was actually really cool before all of this happened, and I'm cool to everybody else as well. It's this whole scenario that's making me upset. And until you're in my shoes, you really won't understand. And I think there's too many people in the system that are in positions of making decisions for people when they've never experienced the hardships of the things that they're deciding over. And that's a huge fucking problem to me, And then when people like me get upset or hurt by those decisions and we complain about them and we're upset about them, we're discredited because of how we deliver our message. Well, honey, if you were burned like me too, you wouldn't be all chipper and like, yip, 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 I'm so happy. No. Anyways, this will be a shorter video. But, this neglect, the system, I've tried everything. I've called students, I've called friends, I've called family, I've asked everybody around me for help, and I'm not getting any. I'm still here by myself. People talk to me and tell me that's all that they can do. I get closed doors, too much of this, too much of that. People speaking for me in legislation, legislators speaking for me, or like not even responding to me. And it's just like, why am I here? Honestly, like, what am I doing this for? And I don't have the answer to that anymore. Everybody else is enjoying life. This is supposed to be the happiest time right now for me. And I can't even get a lawyer for a hearing for April 1st because I might have one for that one, actually. Who knows, though? It's like, I'm just tired of doing things alone. People think I'm like surrounded by people, but I'm not. People are either intimidated by me or intimidated by how much I put into or how loud I am, how obnoxious I can be. I don't know. But there's a reason behind all of it. And I have very little patience for a good reason. I think once upon a time I had a lot more patience for people and the system. And now I just get triggered so fucking easily. And I'm tired of it. I need a better system. And I don't think I'm going to get one in my generation or my lifetime. So it's like, okay. Anyways, that's it for the system. I don't know what else to do. I'm alone, really need some help.